At 95.3 FM Nashua. I'm Mark Essenthal.
The views and opinions of the following show do not reflect those of WSMN, its owners, and/or associates.
One woman, one mission, shining light on corruption. This is Uncover DC with your host, investigative reporter Tracy Beans.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the show. It is Thursday, September 10th, 2020 at 1:06 in the afternoon. You're listening on WSMN 1590 AM, WSMN 95. Am I forgetting? I didn't even write it down today. 95.3 FM. Today's show is brought to you by Ageless Multi-Collagen. After 20, your body naturally decreases collagen production by 12% each decade, which is a leading reason why your skin appears thinner and more wrinkled as you get older. But Ageless Multi-Collagen gives you 5 types of collagen your body needs in one complete protein. You'll enjoy powerful support for your body with results you can see and feel in a few short weeks. I can attest it's true. I got a bunch of comments the other day about how I said my hair was elastic, and people were like, mostly men, were confused about why that may be. And I kept on trying to explain why elasticity in your hair is a good thing if you're a female. You'll enjoy powerful support for your body with results you can see in a few weeks. So get Ageless Multi-Collagen for 51% off plus free shipping by going to healthwithbeans.com, or you can click the link in the description box below. If you're watching on social media, you can find us on CloutHub, on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, on rightamericamedia.com, and on DLive. And also hello to my radio pals listening in the car. Hope you guys are having a good day. A lot of stuff to talk about. I'm like beside myself. I'm very frustrated. I'm very antsy. I'm very angry today with all that I'm seeing. It's really quite annoying. We're going to start with this movie because I can't with it. It's terribly, terribly disturbing. A couple months ago, they did a trailer, or a movie poster, for this movie called Cuties. It was these young 11-year-olds scantily dressed with very sexually suggestive poses on this picture, on this poster, and everybody lost it. And they had to admit their problem, airing on Netflix, by the way, admit their problem, admit what they were doing wrong, and fix it. And they did, and then the movie was released. And let me tell you something. There is a user on Twitter by the name of I'm going to try and find it for you guys so you're not wandering around out there in the wilderness trying to see who it is. I can't even believe what I'm looking at. It's absolutely horrible. His name is Ghost Jim. It's at GhostJim4 on Twitter if you want to go to Twitter, because I can't even play this. I think that if I showed these clips on my YouTube channel, they'd probably take my channel down. This movie apparently it's called Cuties. It's supposed to be, I guess, I don't know what it is. I don't know what they're trying to do here, but it's these 4 11-year-olds who are acting like Cardi B in this movie. The scenes that this person clipped from this movie are so disturbing. I was like, I couldn't even watch it. I couldn't even finish it. If anybody was sitting at home and watching this film and didn't feel immediately disgusted by it and grossed out and sick to their stomach, they have a problem they probably should seek help for. It is that bad. As a matter of fact, it's so bad that the IMDb had a warning on it, for a parental warning, which I've been told is editable by the public writ large. So it was a sex and nudity disclaimer. It says, during one of the many highly, I'm going to miss that, and erotic dance scenes that purposefully exploit and objectify numerous scantily clad underage girls, one of the female child dancers lifts up her crop top to fully display you know what. This is lawfully defined as pedophilia and can be extremely distressing to many viewers. Now, not surprising, that was removed. As I was archiving it, it was removed and replaced. They changed the language. There is another section in the movie where they try and do online, what adults do when they want to make money. I'm trying to be careful here. It's disturbing. Now some people are saying like, oh, but this film is showing why this is not good. If you had that proclivity and you came across this on Netflix, it would be like your wildest dream come true. It's trash. It's horrible. It's criminal, to be honest. It really is. If you watch what these little girls are being instructed to do in this movie, just looking at that in and of itself, it's terrifying. Like, this is where we're at in culture right now. This is what we have on. Barack Obama is on the board of Netflix, Susan Rice, all involved with Netflix. The left has, when people started speaking up about this, the left and the leftist media started coming after anybody that criticized the movie, saying they were a far-right agitator, just out far-right conspiracy theorists making something out of nothing, trying to, cause problems for a film. Turkey ordered Netflix to remove the film from the site completely. And there's one scene in this movie where this 11-year-old little girl takes a picture of her nether region and puts it online. This is what we're talking about here. This is not like, oh, Tracy's a prude, she can't. No, it's dangerous and it's horrible. Tessa Thompson is a verified Twitter user. She's a female agitator. She says it's a beautiful film. Won an award at Sundance. It introduces a fresh voice. Comment on the hypersexualization of pre-adolescent girls. Disappointed to see the current discourse. Whatever message you were trying to portray, it didn't work, filmmaker. It really didn't work. I don't care if your entire movie is about how bad it is that those things are happening. Take a look at some of the clips of this movie and you tell me how what they're doing is advancing any message other than, oh, if you're someone who likes young kids, here's the movie for you. I don't know how anyone could let their kid be in this movie. It's here. The New Yorker, the New Yorker has an article out from September 8th. Cuties, the extraordinary Netflix debut that became the target of a right-wing campaign. I have talked about this from the very beginning. Children are off limits. Like, there should be no politicization around the abuse of children. Everybody on every side of the aisle should be able to come together on this issue. This is not a right versus left thing. It really isn't. As a matter of fact, I see a lot of people on the left realizing what President Trump is doing to stop human trafficking, pedophilia, etc., changing tack because they're saying, wow, maybe this is what it's all about. We've learned enough out in the open over the past 3-4 years to know that this isn't some vast right-wing conspiracy. And shame on anybody out there who has politicized the abuse of children to suit their own agenda. This is like step number 5 in like a long list of steps to completely destroying culture and society as a whole. When you're okay with this, when you can defend what you're looking at on the screen, when you see this movie, you're gone. Some of the people commenting on this, probably like some of the people commenting under the threads that I've done. But by the way, when I first tweeted this on Twitter, I was immediately censored. Literally. I usually get, I don't know. I'm not trying to be like, I'm just saying, I usually get several retweets on something that is this important so quickly. I'm like, what? This can't be. People would be absolutely beside themselves if they saw this. So I started tweeting that I was being censored. And all of a sudden, like always happens on Twitter, when you say you're being censored, they take you out of the censorship cage for like 5 minutes so that you look like an idiot. And then they put you back in because you get engagement again after they take you out of that bucket, whatever bucket they've stuffed you into, which is why I use CloutHub now, because I can say whatever I want on CloutHub and not have to worry about anything. So this movie is like, here, this is the New Yorker article. On Wednesday, Netflix releases Cuties, the remarkable first feature from the French filmmaker, whatever her name is, I can't pronounce it. Unfortunately, the platform's misleading advertising has given rise to a scurrilous campaign against the film itself. The promotional image showing young girls in bikini-like clothing dancing in provocative ways, matched with an inaccurate description, have been taken to suggest the film celebrates children's sexualized behavior. In fact, the subject of the film is exactly the opposite. It dramatizes the difficulties of growing up female in a sexualized and commercialized media culture. No. I doubt the scandal mongers, who include some well-known figures of the far right, have actually seen Cuties, but some elements of the film that weren't presented in the advertising would surely prove irritating to them. It's the story of a girl's outrage at and defiance of a patriarchal order. I don't care if this is a film about the Tooth Fairy and Santa Claus on Christmas morning. This film is like criminal in nature. Seriously. I'm so incensed by this, and the sick people like the author of this op-ed, Richard Brody, who can defend this. Like, somebody said on my Twitter, a good friend of mine, they're claiming to stand up against it to exploit it. They're doing it in a very roundabout way. It's gross. I mean, you can't even, I couldn't even finish half the clips. I forced myself so I would know that I wasn't making some mistake. It's almost like it gaslights you because you can't really believe that you're looking at what you're looking at, but you're looking at it. It's something else. So that starts off the day today. That starts off the day. This, if you have a Netflix subscription, consider what you're doing with it. Just consider. Their stock tanked. This is just trash. It's horrible. It's horrible. There's one scene where I guess they come in through the side door of some I don't know what it is. It's some room with blue lights or whatever. They come through the side door. They broke in. The guy that owns the place is going to call the police and kick them out. They get into a little tussle. He grabs one of the girl's arms to tell her that she's going to leave, and they start accusing him of, being a pervert or whatever. Then another guy comes in. During that time, they find out they made the finals of their little dance competition, and the other guy that came in is basically sitting there ogling at these young girls while they're dancing, and they're like, "See, we're dancers," and they're not dancing. One of the things that they do in this movie is they have they're hitting each other's butts. They're twerking on the ground. They've got their hands between. It's disgusting. It is really, really horrible. And I always take issue with movies that are featuring children that are rated above the age level that they would have to be to see them. There's something wrong there, don't you think? It's really bad. I promise you, I'm not making something out of nothing. I don't care if at the end of this movie, the whole lesson is oh, we wanted to show you just how bad this actually is. It doesn't matter. You've lost. Whatever you're doing here, you should be committed. This is just how you can be a cameraman and shoot this film. It's not like somebody didn't make a conscious decision to focus on certain parts of the body in the middle of this. This needs to be exposed big. People need to make a lot of noise over this because it is just absolutely disgusting. And that's all I'm going to say about it. I know I spent some time on it, but it is gross, and it is seriously, it's important that we focus on this and stop this nonsense, because I have kids, you guys have kids. this is not the world that I want to leave for my kids when this is accepted and okay. Like little girls dancing like they're strippers and putting their fingers in their mouth. And like, it's just horrible. Left or right, guys. This should be something that is not politicized. They successfully politicized this so that people who speak up against it, like anyone who's, let's say, right-leaning, like far-right conspiracy theorists, as they like to call everybody all the time. Anybody that says anything about it like that, the people on the other side of the aisle automatically say, oh, they're just making it up because they're conspiracy theorists. These people have been discredited, thoroughly discredited. They're all prude conservatives. No, they did it. They successfully made child exploitation acceptable. I didn't think that we would ever get to the point where we didn't all agree that this was a bad thing. But here we are. Here we are. And shame on whoever these kids' parents are. Shame on you. You should be disgusted with yourself for doing this to your little girls. Shame on you. Horrible. Speaking of politicization, there's a lot more going on with stuff. There's like a number of different sort of influence operations rolling out. We talked about this a couple weeks ago on the show too. There's a number of different kind of tangents that are flowing right now. One of which is the military. And, you know, that now absolutely completely discredited Atlantic piece that was out last week about President Trump saying the generals were losers and, you know, John McCain and blah, 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 and all the things about the disabled soldiers that were they were, first of all, sourced by off the record by 4 people who the author and editor-in-chief of The Atlantic said didn't want to go on the record because they were afraid they would be attacked on Twitter. I mean, really? This is the reason? They print a piece about the President of the United States and things he never said to that extent, and the people don't want to go on the record because they're afraid of Twitter. What kind of people do you think those are? Just in the general sense. So a bunch of people on the record came out to talk about this. A bunch of people on the record came out and said this never happened. I never saw this happen. I was there, including John Bolton, who was no friend to the president, as we know. He came out and said that it was nonsense as well. So that report was the first one to try and put a dent in President Trump's support that he has with the media. Then we started seeing Joe Biden coming out and making tropes about the media. We see the New York Times attacking the military, attacking the Marines for being racist. We're starting to see all of these little stories about, you know, how President Trump never helped veterans and, you know, all of these things and whatever. And I think I know why. So like yesterday, Joe Biden came out in one of his little talks where he was coughing, which we'll talk about in a second because all of this goes together. And he said something like 6,000 somewhat people that are more than 6,000 members of the U.S. military have died due to coronavirus. The actual number of military that have died due to coronavirus is 7, according to the Department of Defense. 7. Just keep a very keen eye out for this, and let me tell you why. Just keep a keen eye on this. That article, The Anatomy of a Coup, I believe, or I forget what it was called, or The Coming Coup was the name of it. I'm just going to look it up really quickly. Yeah. The Coming Coup. It talks about what the Democrats are actually doing, and it talks about their war games and their strategy, right? And it talks about how all of the gaming that they do, all the scenarios and act outs and things and we talked about the votes and, you know, what scenarios they need for electoral college votes. They're all doing this, you know, funded by George Soros, who is not just some philanthropist who helps left-wing causes, guys. He overthrows countries. He's done it over and over again. Let's get with the program. This is serious. they're all getting together, all of these enemies, all of these entrenched enemies that have been in our country under the cover of darkness for decades now, that nobody realized were really there, or nobody, public writ large, didn't have any clue about were there. They're all scheming, and we have to save this. We cannot let this go. This cannot go the way it's going. If we lose this time, we are done for. If we lose this time and we have 4 more years of this and 4 more years of prosperity, our plan for globalism, our plan to, destroy the United States, turn it into a socialist, Marxist, communist country, whatever it is that they're attempting to do now, it'll be over. They will have lost culture. They will have lost politically. They're going to lose the schools. It's over. Hold on a second here. That's what happens when you cough on live radio. It's going to be over. So they're wargaming out. All of the scenarios that they wargame out, in quotes, end with the military. They end with the military coming in to remove the duly elected president of the United States. All of them end with the military stepping in to help. It's really hard to do that when your everyday soldier, veteran, military member, even, high-ranking generals, admirals, etc., see President Trump as such a stalwart for them. The most peaceful president in history, as we learned with he was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize yesterday, which I'm hoping we can get to as well. So even if we're going to game it out in 2 different ways, okay? So even if they have enough high-ranking military officials, many of whom we know have jumped ship and are doing the bidding of unelected power brokers. We know that that's true. Even if they have all those people in command, if morale for the commander-in-chief in the rank and file is not low, they will not follow those unconstitutional orders. I.e. also, even if, let's say, they come out with some sort of strategy after the election and the military is activated to do something in regards to the office of the president, if the American people at large think that the president dislikes the military and disdains the military, the public, the idiot public out there, will accept the fact that the military went after the president, because obviously the president doesn't care about the military. He's demeaned them over and over again. So there's a lot more to this than meets the eye. It's not just, let's try and tar and feather President Trump in the eyes of the voters right before the election. There's a lot more to this than that. Every time you see them mentioning the military, think again, think closely, look closely at what they're doing, what they're talking about. Look very closely. It's going to be like a slow drip of propaganda that's going to come out for several different purposes, multi-purpose solution, for sure. This is a really, really good article by Michael Anton. He did a really great job with it. The second part of the plan, he says, is either to produce enough harvested ballots, lawfully or not, to tip close states, or else dispute the results in close states and insist, no matter what the tally says, that Biden won them, which they'll do. No matter what the tally says. The worst case scenario for the country, but not for the ruling class, would be results in a handful of states that are so ambiguous and hotly disputed that no one can rightly say who won. Of course, that won't stop the Democrats from insisting that they won. We're going to probably hit a break in a second, right, Juan?
That's correct.
I'm so good. I'm on a roll today. Can you see? I'm a little bit fired up.
Yes, you are.
Yeah. Horrible, horrible stuff.
But,
we're going to cover more on the other side, though.
You are so right about what you're saying. Everything is, it's like a spider web.
Yep. We'll see you guys in about minute 30.
This is Uncover DC with Tracy Beans on WSMN, AM 1590 and FM 95.3.
I was in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean when it happened. There was a sudden jolt and our submarine crashed on the seafloor. We were in total darkness.
That's Dr. Dejana Figueroa, a marine biologist and STEM teacher, talking about a deep sea dive she'll never forget.
It's funny, when I was a kid, I was afraid of the ocean, and there I was, 2 miles below the surface. But as a scientist, you prepare for that. Using our training and a little creativity, we fixed the sub and finished our experiments. The dive was just too important. Every dive gives us glimpses at things few people ever get to see. Glowing creatures, fiery undersea volcanoes. When we got back to the surface, I kissed the ground and called my mom, of course. But you know what? I wouldn't trade that dive for anything.
Dr. Figueroa uses her passion for STEM to discover new things and make the world a better place. She can STEM, so can you. Check out She Can STEM for more stories and inspiration. A message from the Ad Council.
You're listening to Uncover DC with Tracy Beans.
Thank you guys for giving me my minute and a half to kind of gather my thoughts again. There's so much going on today. And I shut the air conditioning off up here, and now I regret it because like really, it's hot. It's hot. So back to the piece here. American Mind. Anton. They have been running several different strategies below the ground. I want everybody to understand, and I know that all of you guys listening, or most of you guys listening, do. What's going on right now, it is multifaceted in nature. It involves sitting U.S. senators, sitting U.S. congresspeople, sitting unelected bureaucrats still in positions of power within the administration, former military generals, current military generals, obviously foreigners, the media as a whole, every single legacy television media channel, every single print outlet that anybody has ever come to know. All of it's involved. You're getting hit from 75 different angles. Again, because if Donald Trump does not win the election, if Donald Trump does win the election, they're finished. This is it. They're not going to be able to put it all back together. We're at such a precipice in this country right now, like so seriously. And I see this because I see it all. They're so blatant now in their nonsense. So we've got all of that going on. And then remember a show or so ago, I played for you guys the clip of Adam Schiff saying how Antifa was Russian driven, whatever. It was Russia behind Antifa. Do you guys remember? Well, on top of let's do something else real quick first, just to set the stage for everybody on what I'm going to talk about next. Yesterday, I believe, we started having these excerpts from Woodward's book come out, where Woodward comes out and says that he recorded the president in conversation where he said he purposefully downplayed the seriousness of coronavirus, as though that this was like, the quote that he actually said was he didn't want people to panic. So he asserted a strong demeanor and a strong positive language when he was on stage so that the entire country didn't go into a panic. What is wrong with that? These people are sick. Barack Obama did the same thing during the pandemic this time. I mean, this is it, so they're hitting him from like the COVID angle, which is not going to work. There's also leaked emails that came out today between the press office and the Health and Human Services Department trying to guide Fauci not to say things that were just completely wrong. It's really interesting. This article is from Politico, and it's on Anthony. It's titled, "Emails Show HHS Official Trying to Muzzle Fauci." Emails obtained by Politico show a top aide at the department dictating what the nation's top infectious disease expert should say during media interviews. I just want to put this out there for everybody right now, listening out there, because there's a lot of folks listening out there that, may have a reason to respond to what I'm about to say. A lot of outlets like that people go to for their information and their news won't print certain things because they're being pulled by puppet masters above them that won't let them print things because they're political in nature and, they don't want to do this and they want to ruffle these feathers and blah, blah, blah. That's not the case. I don't care. Independent media doesn't care, okay? I'm just saying that because you see these pieces come out all the time and it just really irks me. Like, why is nobody countering this? There's got to be whistleblowers that are blowing the whistle on the other side. Why are we not hearing about any of it? With documents, etc., so on and so forth. Emails obtained by Politico show Paul Alexander, a senior advisor to Michael Caputo, HHS's Assistant Secretary for Public Affairs, instructing press officers and others at the National Institutes of Health about what Fauci should say during media interviews. That's not really what the emails say. Quote, here's one. Alexander's lengthy messages, some sent as recently as this week. So how did Politico get them? Who is leaking Alexander's messages to the press and Politico? Who is leaking? Is it Fauci? Is it somebody between him and Fauci? Is it somebody at HHS who's really angry that things are changing and they're not politicizing science anymore? Is it somebody at the CDC who got angry that HHS ripped the ability for them to manipulate hospital reporting numbers right from underneath their noses? Who is it? I wonder. Here, the emails add to evidence that the White House and Trump appointees within HHS are pushing health agencies to promote a political message instead of a scientific one. Here's a quote from the email. This is it's backwards. Up is down, down is up, left is right, right is left. It is absolutely backwards. All of this is backwards. The emails add, okay, I continue to have an issue with kids getting tested and repeatedly, and even university students in a widespread manner. And I disagree with Dr. Fauci on this vehemently, Alexander wrote in one August 27th email, responding to a press office summary of what Fauci intended to tell a Bloomberg reporter. And Tuesday, Alexander told Fauci's press team that the scientist should not promote mask wearing by children during an MSNBC interview. Can you ensure, this is the email, quote, and tell me if how many of you guys out there how many of you disagree with what you're about to hear, okay? Just to give you an example. Quote, can you ensure Dr. Fauci indicates masks are for the teachers in schools and not for children? There is no data, none, zero, across the entire world that shows children, especially young children, spread this virus to other children or to adults or to their teachers. None. And if it did occur, the risk is essentially zero, he continued. That's the truth. So here we have a battle, people, and it's a good place we're in right now, and I'll explain why. Up until this past year, maybe year and a half, President Trump was surrounded by people that just wanted to destroy him. He had no trusted people inside of the departments. He had no trusted people on his personal staff. It was constant attacks over and over and over again by the people closest, people in positions of power, etc. After 2 years in the admin, a little deal expired, and we were able to bring in the real good people, right? We got good people now. Now there are people at Health and Human Services that actually have a care for the truth, and they want the truth out to the American people. This virus, as everybody knows, has been politicized up the wazoo. It has polarized the country. It has destroyed livelihoods. The politicization of the virus, not the virus itself. The epicenter of the most death was in New York, where Governor Cuomo sent people infected with coronavirus into nursing homes with the most vulnerable population. The bulk of the deaths were there. And now our kids are forced to go to school or not go to school at all and sit there with masks on their faces all day because deep state power brokers inside of this administration are hell-bent on doing anything and everything that they can to stop him from getting reelected. So your kids are suffering because these people, unelected, ridiculous, traitorous bureaucrats, are trying to get their way. And they're not working for the American people. They're not. Who disagrees with this? So Politico adds in their own little thing, without evidence. You know, that normal common phrase, they without evidence. Adding without evidence that children take influenza home, but not the coronavirus. Without evidence, here, in a statement attributed to Caputo, HHS said that Fauci is an important voice during the pandemic and that Alexander specializes in analyzing the work of other scientists. He says, Dr. Alexander advises me on pandemic policy, and he's been encouraged to share his opinions with other scientists. Like all scientists, his advice is heard and taken or rejected by his peers. I hired Dr. Alexander for his expertise and not simply to resonate others' opinions. Shifting to Woodward. I'm just trying to tie it all together with you in a big knot so that you guys are understanding everything, at least on a very surface level, until we can dig a little deeper. Woodward, pandemic talk, right? Releases his, Trump was lax, so he was playing down the virus publicly thing. MSNBC has Fauci on last night. Fauci says, no, that didn't happen. That didn't happen. Actually, he said exactly what we talked about. He was very transparent with the American people. It could have happened, but I never saw it. Fauci is so weird. He keeps everybody on their toes. The left loves him one day, the right thinks he's okay the next day. Then the next day he says something else. And then, he says, nobody wear a mask, everybody wear a mask. The Surgeon General says everyone wear a mask. At the time when all of this was going on in March, if you look back at the reporting from that time period, you'll see there's nothing surprising about what Woodward is even reporting to begin with. When someone has nothing to hide, they will talk to people on the record like Woodward and hope that Woodward would write something with integrity. But it's a political hit, and they're all coming out of the woodwork at once. Now, back again to remembering about how Adam Schiff said that it was Russian disinformation or Russians behind the Antifa attacks. There's another whistleblower, guys, but this one has a name. This whistleblower has a name. And there was a report that came out. His name is Murphy. And Robin Gritz, who's a former FBI agent, has a lot to say about Mr. Brian Murphy. Brian Murphy was at the Department of Homeland Security. Apparently, I'm going to tell you exactly what this is right now. He's an SES employee. He went to Schiff. Now it's Adam Schiff. And you know who his attorney is? I'm just going to throw it out there. Mark Zaid. Zaid is the same one who represented the other whistleblower, who we actually found out was Vindman yesterday or the day before. Vindman, Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, remember, if you guys had followed me on YouTube at all, you'll see that I did a post where I talked about Lieutenant Colonel Michael Vindman and a Lieutenant Colonel Hickman, who had come up and said, this guy is a fraud. Here's what he did overseas. He was friendly. He was anti-United States. He was pro Russia. It was a very interesting little exchange, and he was harassed and stalked by the media. He was trashed, tarred, and feathered, a disabled veteran. And as you remember, they held up Vindman as like some glowing model of superiority and goodness. They held him up on some pedestal. But I said, and I talked about this from the beginning for a lot of different reasons. Vindman was the one who tried to edit the transcript of the call with Zelensky. when he couldn't get to the transcript, their entire little plan fell apart. So when Byron York in his new book reports that Vindman was the biggest driver behind impeachment, and then you look at how he could not even handle himself under questioning, it all makes sense. There were good guys inside that moved that transcript to that secure server, and Vindman couldn't get his hands back on it so that the whistleblower complaint matched that transcript. So that's interesting. Another whistleblower. Robin Gritz says that this guy, Murphy, is a problem. And so I'm trying to talk with her and get some information and background and why he's a problem, what he did. There was a problem during when she was in the FBI. There was some kind of an assignment she was apparently called back from. This guy was in the FBI, I think from 1995 to 2001. It's in his bio here. You know, they do like in these complaints, they do these bios about them and all their public works. And of course, he's a veteran too. So, you know, they can only trash veterans like General Michael Flynn. You can't trash veterans like Lieutenant Vindman. I'm not even going to call him. He should be court-martialed is what he should be. And someone's asking in the chat, Vindman, not Eric, the whistleblower? He was involved too, but Vindman was the one driving the whole entire thing. Vindman went to his brother at the NSC, and then his brother at the NSC went to the attorney, and then everybody went through Eric. And that's how it went. So this whistleblower complaint that was released is about the Department of Homeland Security. And what exactly this guy is angry about, he was providing, quote, intelligence to the Department of Homeland Security, their upper management and the people there, Christian Nielsen, Wolf, Cuccinelli, and he even cites Kash Patel in here. Kash Patel is cited. And he basically says that he gave evidence about or intelligence about who was crossing the southern border, and then Nielsen went in under House testimony and didn't give the right number. And, you know, he basically is doing the same exact thing that every other unelected bureaucrat in these organizations says. Well, you're not doing what I say is the right thing, so you're wrong. Leadership at DHS clearly knows that there are a bunch of covert people acting against the interests of the United States within the agency, still working there. They know it. And they're reading these, quote, intelligence reports, and they're saying, this stuff is nonsense. This is politicized intelligence. We're not putting this out. No way. Fix this. We know this is wrong. And this guy is complaining about it. Some of the stuff that this is where it gets down to brass tack here. Improper administration of an intelligence program and abuse of authority regarding Russian influence. Now, there's a lot more work that needs to be done here. I'm just going to put that out there. I couldn't finish it today, but I'm working on it because he is saying he made protected disclosures between March 2018 and May 2020. And then, if you remember, a couple of months ago, there were all kinds of reports that Russia is still interfering in the election, and then people came out and said Russia's not interfering in the election, and then there were press leaks about how Russia still has a stranglehold all over our election in 2020, and all kinds of press was going on about the subject. It was because there was politicized intelligence. Now he's accusing the Wolfs and Cuccinellis and you know, all of those folks of politicizing the intelligence, but it's the opposite way around. But what is more important in here than anything, I think, is that this one, E, you're just going to get down to it here. He alleges improper administration of an intelligence program regarding Antifa. He is asserting that there is abuse of authority and improper administration of an intelligence program with respect to intelligence information on Antifa. So, without getting into too much ridiculous detail, Murphy is trying to stop the Department of Homeland Security, very active in Portland, remember, from getting information and intelligence on Antifa. And now he's claiming in his whistleblower complaint that the Department of Homeland Security was improperly using intelligence on Antifa. Think about this. Does this make sense to you? Makes sense to me that there's an Antifa sympathizer on the inside trying to steer the direction our officials take by slanting intelligence one way or the other. And if I'm not mistaken, and I don't think I am, and I typically don't talk about threads until I've really tied them to one another, but I can almost guarantee you from what I'm seeing in tonality and everything else on this next impeachment inquiry nonsense that'll come up here, they want to get rid of Wolf. They want to get rid of they want to get rid of Homeland Security. Why would they want to do that? Why would they want to cause problems at the Department of Homeland Security now? Number one, they're involved in getting rid of the terrorist organizations that are terrorizing our citizens right now. And they can't have that, the left and the horrible, evil people that are trying to destroy our country. They can't have people stopping Antifa, arresting them federally, charging them with crimes, even goodness forbid, rolling up the financial ties between the how the money's coming in from other countries. The Department of Homeland Security. Oh goodness, if that goes wrong, forget it. So Adam Schiff is going to come in, take Russia and slap them on Antifa. Do you get it now? He's taking this complaint weeks ago, rolling it up, and slapping Russia on Antifa. And I'm like sitting there. We talked about this. We joked about it. Why would Adam Schiff be saying Antifa was Russia? Now I know. Because this complaint came out. That's why. They're trying to get the people doing a good job who are aware of a power establishment trying to destroy the country out. They want these people, they want the good people who are in positions of power in the country right now out. So they're going to do everything they can, including, there's a little Antifa soy boy in Brian Murphy sitting there saying, oh, we can't have this. We can't have my comrades being tracked down. We should fix this. This isn't good. It's really something what's happening right now. So what I was going to say is, I think that this could be tied in some way to the Ron Johnson open letter of 10 pages from a few weeks back, where he talks about how there were intelligence briefings on Russia that were incorrect. There was wrong intelligence that came in. It was wrong. It wasn't correct. This is probably where the bounty rumor started too. It's all probably stemming from this Murphy guy. And I'm still trying to figure out why they released his name so quickly. It was either they knew they couldn't get away with another anonymous whistleblower, or there's several different reasons why it could be. But this guy's going to fall on a sword. They fired him. They demoted him. I shouldn't say fire him. He's an SES employee. This is why this stuff has to go. It's crazy. So, Ron Johnson did a letter explaining how he's being targeted by members of the left, including Adam Schiff. This guy is a criminal. I don't even know how he is still allowed to have a chairmanship on the HPSC or a position in government at all. I mean, he should be in jail right now for leaks. So he said he's being attacked they're being attacked. Grassley was just on television yesterday talking about this. And I'm going to tie this together a little better. I've got hours of research to do on this story because there's tons of dates, and I'm in this whistleblower complaint, I'm like cross-referencing these dates with what happened on those days. I mean, you're going out on a limb here, Mr. Murphy, when there seems to be a parallel between what you're saying in your complaint and what's being reported in the New York Times. I wonder what that means. Does that mean that you could be leaking? Does that mean someone close to you is leaking? And why in the world would Antifa is a domestic terrorist group destroying our country right now, being funded by foreigners. They're crazy. They're just crazy. Juan, Is any of this making sense to you?
All of it. Makes perfect sense.
Okay. I think that, everybody needs to start really looking at this map, gaming this out big screen, right? Like putting this all in front of you on a table and just saying, okay, here's all the attacks, trying to diminish President Trump's support with the military. Here they're going after any organization within the government with good people heading it up that are trying to stop this Antifa insurgency. Here they're going after the president for COVID because the truth about COVID is coming out, and goodness knows we don't want that to be out there. It's all over the place. Now, thankfully, none of this stuff is working yet. It's really not. What they're doing is they're seeding the media with it so that they can rely on it later. They just need to be able to say, well, we reported back here. Look, this was reported, just like they did with the Steele dossier, just like they did with everything else. And yes, I do think there's another Durham indictment imminent, but we're running out of time, so I can't talk about it. Wanted to talk to you quickly about two events that are coming up. On October 2nd through the 4th, please join me in Washington, D.C. for the hashtag Walkaway Unsilent March on Washington. We have 1A Praetorian who is going to be doing security for the event. You do not want to mess with these guys. I'm telling you, you do not. And Boots on the Ground Bikers for Trump will be there as well. But these are Special Forces guys that have come, they're joining us for the event. They've got a lot going on. We'll put it that way. You'll be very safe at this event in D.C. on October 2nd through October 4th. Go to walkawaycampaign.com for information. And then the second week in October, as soon as I get home from that, I'm going down to Miami, and we are going to be meeting with AMP 2020. There's a bunch of speakers. Dinesh D'Souza will be there, debuting his new movie. Corey Lewandowski will be there again. Roger Stone will be there. There's a bunch of people that'll be down there. I'm going to be their official correspondent again for that event. You can go to AmericanPriority.com, and when you go to order your tickets, use the coupon code BEANS to get a discount on your tickets. But definitely make it down there. That's going to be at Trump Doral in Miami. Lots more to talk about, guys. We could have gone probably for 3 hours today. Thank you guys for listening. Again, you can hear us on CloutHub. Go sign up for CloutHub. CloutHub.com/ get CloutHub.com/beans. And everywhere. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. CloutHub. DLive. And WriteAmericaMedia.com. We'll have another show on Tuesday. Hopefully it's as exciting as this one is, because goodness knows there's a whole bunch going on in the world right now.
Hey, Tracy.
Yep.
Nice job.
Thank you.
You got it spot on.
Oh, thanks.
Nothing out there that the media's putting it's just because everything is linked to something.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So very well put. Nice job.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Juan. Thank you very much.
And we'll see you next week, right?
See you next week on Tuesday. Don't miss it.
Okay. Have a good one. Have a nice weekend.
You too.
For hardworking Americans, Uncover DC with Tracy Beans on WSMN, AM 1590 and FM 95.3.